Hey everybody, welcome to We've Got the Beat, the podcast devoted to teen entertainment from the 80s and beyond. I'm your host, Michael, and Mindy's on the other side.
I'm proud of you, so I was like, get right through that.
I forced through that one. The first time, I don't know why, I just dropped words. Usually, people who listen to the show know I fuck up. I wasn't going to do that again. I did fuck up, but I'm not putting it in the episode. It's not funny anymore. I wasn't doing it intentionally either, I swear. This episode will be discussing two movies set in the 70s, Dazed and Confused, and Roll Bounce. I almost said another movie, but I forgot we did Detroit Rock City. Is it weird that we're still having teen movies set in the 70s? Because they just did The Tender Bar, and I think the one that Hot Summer Nights or whatever it is, the one that Edward Burns just did, is like set like. I think it's real late 70s or early 80s. I think Licorice Pizza is also in the 70s. Why are we so obsessed with this decade that for so long everybody hated?
I think it has more to do about the people making the film than anything else. I mean, I think that there is, there's nostalgia. People our age are obsessed with the 80s, even though I think we all have super mixed feelings about the 80s, but it's hotter than ever. So I think it's really about the people who are, making movies now, and I don't know if they're clinging to the positive memories from their childhood, whatever there might actually be.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it.
I'm not sure.
A lot of it seems to be that they want to move away from the technology that controls our world now. There's no cell phones. There's no real video games. There's no internet. Cable. It was just a time when, hey, is there anything to do? No, let's just go hang out somewhere. Seems to be the vibe. But as I said, those directors, I forgot a lot of them. P.T. Anderson is older than me, so of course he'll be interested in the late 70s, early 80s, and Ed Burns, older.
Ed Burns. I just feel like it has more to do. Oh yeah, because didn't that Licorice Pizza? Is that what you just said? And I didn't understand you said that.
Yeah, I said Licorice Pizza. The movie I cannot get through, and apparently I have, according to a guy on Twitter. Because I got bored and I didn't make it 11 minutes in, I have terrible taste in movies, and I also have penis problems, from what he said.
Oh, man, people on Twitter are dope. I'm so glad that I quit that. You just have ADHD, dude. That's it. It doesn't have to do... people are fucking assholes. If you don't like a movie, you don't like a movie. But I haven't seen it yet because I am a little concerned it's going to be, slow. But, I have a feeling it's one of those movies that, might just be more of a ambling 2 hours of a slice of life, and it may not have the excitement that holds everyone's attention.
Yeah.
You didn't have the attention span for that movie at the time, so somebody actually just, says horribly disparaging and non-related things about you. It's why I fucking hate Twitter, and I frankly hate most social media, because it just encourages people's horrific behavior, which is why people are nostalgic for the 80s and the 70s.
Yeah, good way to wrap that around. But I was also thinking, I feel like Dazed and Confused is kind of the beginning of the era where it was just kind of like a slice of life, people just rambling and talking. And of course, the early 90s was filled to the brim with people doing more reflective, self-analyzing, dialogue-based movies instead of plot-based and action-based. Because we had, I think the first real one that I remember making a breakthrough was in '89 was Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And then Slacker was 2 years later. And then Richard Linklater gets the chance to work with a studio doing a piece that's kind of... It's a little bit in the vein of his previous film, Slacker, but it doesn't move from one character to the other. It's just kind of a rambling, long conversation based around the end of that school year. And it seemed like there was something in the air. While the movie wasn't very successful in theaters, it didn't cost very much, but it wasn't very successful. It blew up on video. And I think that kind of opened the door for stuff, from Kevin Smith and other directors that were more focused on lower budget, character-based stuff.
What Richard Linklater movie are you talking about?
This Richard Linklater directed Dazed and Confused.
Oh, this. Okay, I was just confused for a second because I wasn't sure if you were talking about another movie that he did, before this or something.
Yeah.
Okay. My brain, as we have established before we started recording, my brain is not at its full charge at the moment, so I apologize.
And I think it was a little bit early for the 70s nostalgia. There's always seems to be one or two movies that go out there to test the waters to see if it's going to be popular, and they usually just get slaughtered. Who knew that workplace comedy movies were going to be successful, but Office Space had to be the one to go, throw themselves out there to be destroyed and then find itself on video. Because if you look, it took probably another 5 years for people to then be like completely in on 70s nostalgia, because there's that 70s show, which has to owe something to Dazed and Confused. I just feel it. And, like the Charlie's Angel revival and all those like reboots and stuff like that, and looking back, because we had been so stuck with the 50s and 60s for so long, it had to fade out. People were tired of talking about Vietnam and stuff like that and wanted to move into, not post-Vietnam, because that was kind of depressing, like up to like 74. But then it was like when glam rock and like Kiss and stuff like that, and the beginning of like video games, and people were having their hot rods for the first time, that kind of energy. That's why I think people are still so obsessed with 70s rock. Of all that stuff, people are still obsessed with 70s rock, and there goes my dog barking over the mailman. So, the love of 70s rock, which feels like it's absolutely pure, is, I think, one of the reasons why this movie still sticks around. But of course, teenagers going through that phase of graduating to something new, moving on, and having one last celebration kind of thing is always universal, no matter what decade it is.
Oh yeah, everybody can relate to that feeling, even if it's, regardless of what time period it is.
Yeah, I feel like Can't Hardly Wait is the spiritual successor to this. Even though they say it's Everybody Wants Some, if you look at how the movies work, Can't Hardly Wait is just, a modern day, at that time, version of Dazed and Confused.
Well, also, no one's seen that other movie you referenced.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, I really liked Everybody Wants Some, but it's more, it's not really something we're going to cover on the show, because it's more focused on, like, kind of the end of college. Sorry, I was drinking when I did that. You heard me. So I think the big thing about this is, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and it was cast by the same person, is it's one of those movies where you look back and go, oh my god, star, 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 star. Like the whole thing is loaded to the gills. And, some are still successful movie stars, but some kind of faded away. But it's kind of nice to see, like, this moment in time in their careers.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the people, even if they're not, still, acting now, or they weren't necessarily even, like, quote-unquote famous, they were popular faces for a period of time, and you're like, oh, yeah, I know that person from that movie, and, and it is really just loaded with, star power.
Yeah, because like in the 80s we had the Rat Pack, but they weren't as expansive as what this group is. And, it's kind of interesting looking how some of the people would still work together in other movies. And
yes.
But I think it's so interesting is for the longest time, and I still have problems, I cannot tell Jason London from Jeremy London and which was in which. Because Mallrats has a lot of the same cast members.
Why wouldn't you? How could you?
I know, but I feel like I should be able to, but I just don't.
I can't tell the difference between the Ashmores. Like, it's the same thing.
Are they twins? Are they just brothers that look alike? I thought one was older than the other.
I always thought they were twins. If they're not twins, fuck, they look a lot alike. they have to be twins. I can't tell. Anyway, same thing. It's so rare that happens, though, that, like, twins both get into the same, like, field and have fairly equal success.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they would be offended. So maybe you shouldn't make yourself
okay. Other cast members in this: Joey Lauren Adams, who of course most people probably know from the Kevin Smith movies, but then she seemed like she disappeared. I haven't seen her since. Mila Jovovich, who knew that she would become like one of the main female action stars for decades? Decades.
Yeah, it's really weird because one of my first memories of her, and maybe this was around the same time, but I'm not 100% sure, was like a weird-ass music video on VH1.
Yeah, that's what I knew most of her stuff was like she was a musician for a while because if I remember correctly, she did this and I don't remember anything again until Fifth Element.
Well, I was reading in some of the like facts or whatever that some things did not go so great, and I think it was because of the filming of this movie, she kind of decided to lean into the music for a while. I don't remember what the reasoning was, but there was a lot of drama and stuff because I read that she she was like 16 and she, after this movie, she like ran off and got married to one of the other actors in the movie.
Yeah, I saw that. It's Sean Andrews, who I had no idea who he was, but I forgot he's the one with the really long hair. Yeah.
So I think that she had, some, questionable teen years.
Yeah. I think most people do, especially in that industry. Rory Cochrane. What do you prefer? Do you prefer his role in this or Empire Records?
Oh, I don't know. They're both really delightful ding dongs. I mean, Empire Records is always is much higher in my list of favorites. And I really like some of his speeches and stuff in that movie. I don't know. For me, I think it's probably Empire Records, but I do also like. I like him in this too.
Yeah, it felt like his career completely changed. Really. It seems like after that, it seemed like he went for darker stuff, and I really thought that he was going to be one of those guys that was like the funny sidekick and just like like a Steve Zahn kind of actor.
I don't want to see Zahn so much. Sorry.
Yeah. Adam Goldberg, I think, is one of his very first roles. I had seen him in something right before this. We had just one smarmy line. I was like, oh, he's such a baby face. But
his neuroses is just so amazing.
Yeah. And Anthony Rapp, I think this is the first time any of us had seen him, I think, since Adventures of Babysitting. And he's mostly a stage guy, right? Because I rarely ever see him do movies.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that he probably was doing a lot of theater in between, and that's why we haven't seen him. But, yeah, for some reason, I don't dislike him, but I don't really like him so much in this movie.
Yeah, he's one of those, brainy know-it-alls. And him and Goldberg get themselves into trouble because they're fucking mouths.
Yes, which you might relate to a lot.
Shut up. I've had my...
Sorry, dude.
No, you're right.
Sorry, not sorry.
For people who didn't know me, young growing up, I was almost like a David Spade wannabe, and I got my ass handed to me more than once because of my fucking my stupid mouth. So yeah.
But you know what? I can also relate because although I think that I maybe have a little bit more self-control, I definitely open my mouth a lot because I just can't. There are times when I just can't. Shut up. I just can't. I can't. I was just looking and he actually did 1, 2, 3, 4 movies between Adventures in Babysitting and this, one of them being School Ties, but I don't remember him in.
Yeah, which I haven't announced yet, but after this, he'll be back to school. Apparently kids are already back to school. What the fuck is this? It's the second week of August. What is happening?
School here starts in 2 days.
We didn't go until after. So, I just think about this movie and almost everybody, their careers kind of went somewhere, but then there's some that disappeared. I really thought Sasha Jensen, I can't say the name, Sasha Jensen, after doing this in Buffy, which he was very funny and charismatic in, and I don't remember a fucking thing he did after this.
No clue. Yeah, and I'm going to be honest and say that one of the weaker parts of this movie, sorry, Willie Wiggins is not a good actor.
No. His acting is his hair.
Yeah. but I feel like he and Katie Holmes went to the same acting school.
Oh yeah, the shrug. Only here acting. Well, what's his name? From Roswell did the same thing for a while. Brendan Fair. He used to have the hair eyebrow thing. Yeah, but
so it's like you can tell he never had any, like, he could not have had any professional training. He was super awkward, and the awkwardness works for Mitch, but I'm surprised that he did, basically any more movies. He did more than I thought he did, but he was not an actor.
No. And I think that's a big weakness that'll be in our second film, Roll Bounce, is where one of the main characters just doesn't have it, but everybody around him does, which makes the movie enjoyable. But I think it was meant to be, but I think it's weird how some people don't notice how Matthew McConaughey's character is a fucking low-rent sleaze.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is he by this in the movie? Is he supposed to be like 23 or 24 or whatever, and he's still hanging around these teenagers? And like, the famous line, the older I get, the girls stay the same age. I'm like, ew!
The funny thing, I was reading though, the funny thing is like he was actually younger than a bunch of the people who were playing high school students.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he could grow facial hair, kids.
Yeah, I guess so. Some of the other people, like Michelle Burke, like, what, the only thing I ever remember her from other than this is the fucking Coneheads.
Well, Major League 2, she was Charlie Sheen's girlfriend in Major League 2, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, she disappeared. But a big part of this movie, why it's so successful, is afterwards is the soundtrack. It was so successful. I think there was literally 3 albums released, but you look at all of those like, oh yeah, I know that, the classic. It's just loaded to the gills. I mean, you got Kiss, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Sweet, The Runaways, ZZ Top. By the way, ZZ Top's song Tush. Why do they say it Tush? I'm just looking for some tush. I thought they were saying touch for decades. Why would you pronounce the word tush? Tush. Fucking strange.
They want motherfuckers and rock stars.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a really nice slice of life, and it's just real casual. It's more about getting to hang out with the characters, basically.
Yeah, plus, like, lean a little bit into some rebellion. Not too serious. Don't get, like, straight up criminal level, but just a little rebellion is good for the soul.
Yeah. And with Roll Bounce, our second film, this one is much more plot driven. Yes, it's kind of a slice of life, and there's not high stakes, but it's high stakes for him. And for the group in general, because it's kind of a throwback. There was a short period of time where there was like 3 or 4 roller skating movies. A Roller Town USA, and then there was a Boogie Fever or whatever with Linda Blair. There was like 2 or 3 of them. And Xanadu, and there's Xanadu, that was technically part of the roller skating craze and the disco craze. And this tells it from a different perspective, because all those movies were from a white perspective. And it shows, like, these kids, they really don't have anything. They have their roller skating rink, and it's taken away from them, and everything else, and they even talk about it. They comment on the fact that it's just going to be taken away from them, and that it's going to be turned into, a eatery or, something that won't benefit them since it's teenage.
It's all the things that it's going to become, and it's all like a liquor store, tickets. They're like all super sad things that have no value to them. Yeah,
and then the big turning point is the fact that they have to go across town to the fancier roller skating rink, Sweetwater, and then it becomes a fish out of water kind of element. Class warfare. But the interesting thing that they don't do, not class warfare, but what it is, it's not really about money, and it's not about color, because the other team is a mixture of all the people competing and going there are all colors, and it doesn't really talk about the money, but it's clearly something about the side of town that you're from.
And then it's still classist. classism and stuff. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I don't know, but for some reason classism always seems like it's something else to me, but you're right. But we have that, but we also have the deeper story that's going on with the loss of his mother and his father trying to deal with it, and the fact that he lost his job and he keeps lying about it so that they don't feel... I mean, it's already hard enough for children, but if they feel like they might end up homeless, you know, that's even harder for them to succeed. So I get why he's mad, but I also get why the dad did that.
Yeah, you know, the dad was just trying to protect him, and I understand that, but, like, honestly... But he was the most understanding dad I've ever seen, and I don't think that's real, dude, because that kid was a dick.
Yeah.
He was acting like such a fucking dick. And I'm just, like, waiting for him to apologize to his dad, and he never does. And his dad was way more understanding than any person would ever be.
Yeah, the pressure on him because he lost his wife. And then he lost his job, and he doesn't feel like a man anymore. He's just going through the motion. Yeah. The thing is that he's too qualified for even
I know.
Just let him work, okay? Yeah, fine. I mean, I'm not even that educated, but I've applied for jobs that I guess were beneath my level of intelligence, education, experience, or something like that. I don't know what you want to say. I'm not trying to be smug or arrogant.
No, I get it.
But I've been turned down for jobs because they're convinced that I'll quit after a little bit. I'm like, you don't know me. I phone it in at jobs that I'm overqualified for a very long time.
You're like, please. Like, I might seem smart, but I'm lazy as hell.
Yeah, also, I have to eat. I have to pay bills. Please.
Right. That's the thing that's really frustrating. It's just like, you don't know people's motivation for why they're doing shit. Assume that they're applying for this job because they need a job, dummy.
Yeah. And people, and I'm not going to say where I work, but people question why I work there, and I'm just like, I have my reasons. What do you care? I'm here. I'm making money. I'm doing a job that no one else wants to do.
Yeah.
But,
well, I think that's part of it. People who think they know you think they know what's best for you. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Right.
Who they are to you.
I've had many conversations about other places I could work, but I'm like, Dad, I'm an adult. I can make that choice, okay?
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think that, like, I've even done the same thing to you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think the weakest part of this movie is Bow Wow. The dramatic stuff he does, shockingly, he sells very well. It's the comedic stuff that he's too big on. He's like overcompensating, like the way that Dwayne Johnson did really early on, like in what's the Jungle movie? What Jungle movie? He's made like 80 Jungle movies. The Rundown, yes. When you could see that he's kind of like, he's trying not to be stiff, but he's overcompensating. That's what Bow Wow is doing in this.
I actually don't think he's that bad. I think that there's some weakness at other points. Like, I generally think that everybody's a little over the top, and I thought maybe that was just, the approach for teenage actors at that time.
Yeah. I don't know, because it could be, you could have it go over into almost parody level, which is usually big.
Yeah.
Farce. But because of the dramatic stuff, that's what makes the tone off. That's why I don't think that his performance is correct. But, I mean, he's just a kid. He was never a trained actor. I mean, he had just done, like, what was the movie he broke out with? Like Mike? It was just a few years earlier. He'd only done, like, 3 movies at that time.
Yeah.
But I will say he is surrounded by ringers. Everybody in it. I think the kids are great. Fucking Nick Cannon's terrible, though. Good lord, that's not... I don't know what the fuck that is.
He's like the worst actor of all time.
How is his name?
I shouldn't even use the word actor. Like, he isn't really an actor. How did he make so many movies? My God.
Well, we loved, and apparently a lot of other people loved, is that drumming movie, Drumline.
That was just a goddamn fluke, dude.
Yeah, that was a fluke, clearly, because everything after that is just nope. But the fact that they put his name on the posters now, they put his name on the DVD and his face, he's only in, 5 minutes?
Yeah, and then you barely can even understand him when he talks.
Yeah.
His whole, approach is just like, what was your motivation here? This is bizarre.
And all the kids are good, but I will say this, Brandon T. Jackson and Rick Gonzalez almost fucking steal this movie.
God damn, Rick Gonzalez. I didn't remember him in this movie. I mean, I knew that he was a kid actor before, you know. He started out when he was pretty young, and he did a lot of stuff. I did not remember him in this movie. You know, we were talking last time when we did Holes, Kilo Thomas, and here's like another. Is that Cleo? Is that his name? Cleo?
Yeah.
I don't know how you say it.
Cleo? I think Cleo? Yeah.
That he's always a joy. I feel like he should have made more movies.
Yeah.
I think it's super interesting to see, like, Journey Smollett, like, she's really growing up now, but I didn't realize until recently that she was a kid actor and that she did all this stuff, and now she's like, you know, she's been in Hollywood for a long time, but now she's getting huge, you know, bigger because of, like,
Birds of Prey.
Yeah, Birds of Prey, and I think she is doing her own movie now, right, for that character.
Well, knowing how Warner Brothers has been going, who the fuck knows?
Exactly. I will admit, and maybe I should be embarrassed about this, but I don't really care. Seriously, the scenes with Mike Epps and Charlie Murphy were like, I was laughing so hard every scene that they were in, and I was like, they just had an improv all that, didn't they?
I'm almost certain they did. I almost feel like there's another movie with those two guys just horsing around.
They were so funny. Everything I love Charlie Murphy, and Mike Epps too. I just thought, like, it was such a weird, almost, side piece with them, because it's like, what do they have to do with a kids movie about roller skating? But they're just like a really fun. I think the hardest thing for me to watch was when they were at Sweetwater, and I thought that Wesley Jonathan is Sweetness. Like, watching him, everything he did made me cringe. His little crew made me cringe, especially Paul Wesley from, like, Vampire Diaries.
Yeah.
I wonder if it makes him cringe. It should. It was so embarrassing.
Yeah, they're so cool, quotation marks, that they're uncool, which amuses me in no way, but everybody's falling all over Sweetness, and I was like, what? Yeah, but no, I'll give them credit during the character stuff's great, and they don't skimp on it, but good lord, the roller skating sequences are absolutely dynamic. And every one of them is somewhat different. Theirs is more like, you know, huge moves, you know, but they're not so coordinated, and they're not a team. They're surrounding Sweetness. They're letting him shine and letting him, you know, be the spotlight or whatever. Whereas the showdown later with, you know, when the Garden Boys. Why did they call them the Garden Boys, by the way? Did I miss this?
I think that the original skating rink that they went to that got shut down was called the Gardens.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
I think.
But in theirs is so beautiful because it's such a unit. They're all sharing the spotlight. They're all working together, and they're a true team, unlike the other one. And yeah, they're not doing the big flips and huge moves or whatever, but the coordination, the timing, and the fact, and of course the people there watching and voting didn't know that they had to change the song at the last minute, but we do as a viewer of the movie, and that was astounding. But I gotta tell you, Hollywood City, that's one of my favorite. I love the soundtrack too. It's just kind of a shame that this movie nobody talks about, but it has the same kind of vibe, and it has an amazing soundtrack. Every great funk song during that period, and I have never heard anybody talk about this movie.
I don't think I have either, but yeah, I seriously, it you know, it leads into a different genre, a style of the 70s music, that's for sure, but they're all like solid songs. You know, I don't know, I have some issues with this movie. I think my biggest issue is, like, I mean, I know that, like, friend groups, you know, punk each other, give each other shit. That's just sort of, like, one of the things about, you know, the vibe of most, you know, friend groups. Especially male friend groups.
Yeah.
But
you're busting balls. You're busting balls here.
So mean
Yeah, well, I feel like they let Brandon T. Jackson just go. I feel like he improv'd a lot of that, and there's a couple of those that cut real fucking deep, and I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah, and like with his character, Chloe Thomas mixed Mike. His name was actually Mixed Mike.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. I mean, I feel like some of that's kind of cool, but one, it was the 70s. It's not 2022. Things are different now, you know, and I mean, even different when they made the movie, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's more sensitive now, but
not in this town. The kids that are that age that come to where I am, they do this ball busting shit with each other all day long.
The ball busting is a little beyond normal to cruel. I think it was kind of cruel. But,
yeah. Oh, no, it's cruel. I hated it when I was in high school. Because you remember I had two different kinds of friends. I had my real friends, the ones that were in band, but because they were in band, we never had the same lunches, you know, their breaks and everything. It was all different lines. So they were my friends I hang out with outside of school, and they're still my friends to this day. Whereas the other guys that I knew, they were more of the sports guys. They were always busting my balls. I mean, literally one time they were talking about baseball, and they asked me if I watched the game, and I said, no, we went to go see, this is the weekend we went to go see Major League 2 at the theater, and it's still baseball related, it's still sports related, and one goes, could you just shut the fuck up about movies for once, or I'm going to throw you in the trash? And I was like, okay. Yeah, and I never speak to any of them. The minute I graduated, I never spoke to them, any of them, except one. And then all he did was tell stories about high school, and I was like, come on, dude, it's been years.
Yeah, those aren't real friends. I mean...
It's like prison friends. You need somebody so you're not alone, get beat up, you know?
You have to make alliances.
Yeah.
They're not ideal. That's sad, but yeah, I get it.
But I really appreciate how well they captured the roller skating. Because I've seen the other ones, just out of curiosity. I had seen them a few years ago, and they're really stilted. But this one really flows with it. I mean, how could you not film roller skating and also just be on the ground, you know, moving with them? You feel like you're in it. And it's so dynamic. It's amazing filmmaking without being shaky and nauseating.
Yeah, that's really, you know, it's actually harder to do than you think, to, like, capture that in a smooth way. And I would love to know, like, I assume that they must have had, like, stunt people and all that stuff to really pull this off. But that's a lot of stunt work to, I mean, did any of these people do any of their own stuff? They don't really talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I see in the credits there are stunt people, and there are some moments where I can tell camera angles and lighting where, especially during the final show-off between Sweetness and X, there's some stunt people in there. But for the most part, especially with the Garden Boys doing their choreograph, that is almost all them. It's only the stuff that looks like it was dangerous. But also on the other side, on Sweetness's team, they look like they had some ringers, like real stunt guys, like they could pull it off. And they weren't actors.
Yeah, I just, like, it really is very artistic, and, you know, the comparison to the kid with, like, who was the, like...
Oh, the ballet dancer kind of, yeah.
Like, it's really, it does seem pretty similar, you know, the gracefulness and, you know, the difficulty. I mean, you know how hard it is to move on roller skates, let alone do something fucking graceful?
I've done rollerblades, and that's it. Did you know roller skates? Not. I honestly expected it's going to be 90s nostalgia city, you know, around here, and, you know, in the world or whatever. People are going to get nostalgic for stuff from then, and I expected rollerblades to come back, but they haven't. Roller skates have come back. I just saw a family yesterday roller skating.
Hey, I just bought some new roller skates. I'm sending you a picture right now. Like, literally, I bought these like two weeks ago. I've had them for 2 weeks.
Cool. When I get some insurance, I'm gonna go get some rollerblades, because I'm better on rollerblades than skates. And Ron, he still rollerblades too. So we're gonna see some 40-year-old guys wounded and on a stretcher.
That's the thing though. Is like I somehow, despite my age, never ever. I don't think ever have been on rollerblades. I don't know how. All of my experience has been on skates. I mean, you know, I tell people that, you know, in our, like, middle school and stuff, that going to the roller skating rink and like, the bowling alley was just part of our gym curriculum, and they all were like, what?
I know, and people were confounded by this.
Every single year for like 6 to 8 weeks, we went to the roller rink twice a week.
Yeah.
So, and for some reason, I never ever got into rollerblades. So I just decided I just got a new pair of roller skates, and my friend gave me all these pads, and I made it all the way around my neighborhood without falling down. So it's a start, but
yeah, that's good. I hated roller skating for the longest time because I didn't. Well, okay. First off, you remember the birthday party I had where I invited 30 people and no one showed.
I was also there. It was a joint birthday party, so I also invited 30 people.
You did? I didn't remember that.
Yes.
Did your friends show up?
It was between our birthdays because they're so close together, you know.
Yeah.
But 7 weeks apart, so it was a joint birthday party. I'm pretty sure it was a joint birthday party. We both invited 30 people. I don't think anybody came for me either, or maybe a couple, but I don't think so.
Wow.
I think it was really, really depressing.
Okay, so there's that. But I didn't roller skate. I don't know why I didn't bother to roller skate. I just played the arcade games while you went out roller skating, I believe. And then years later, when we were forced to do it, I think in middle school is when it started, but then we did it in high school as well. But in high school, I still wasn't skating very well. I was, the kind of kid that would stay close to the wall in case I had to hold on or whatever. Because I had very weak ankles, but also I was the kid, the bigger ones would go around and smash into the wall, and I ended up hating roller skating. And I wouldn't go anywhere near it. So I don't have fond memories, but Robert wanted to buy the roller skating rink. But someone else bought it and it was too expensive. He really wanted to buy the roller skating rink in our hometown. And I was like, dude, if you do, I'm going to come in there by myself. with the lights on, please. That flickering light thing really throws me off. It always has since I was a child. I have vision problems.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why I like roller skating or rollerblading outside, because it's natural light and it's all the same light.
Tell
basically.
him that if the opportunity ever comes up again, that I'll be a silent investor.
Yeah, and I told him I'll run the arcade.
Nice.
If I could, I would add a batting cage outside, but it's Indiana, so the winters would destroy it probably.
Well, there'd just be a limited availability part.
That's true. That parking lot's pretty. We're going way off on the movie, people. Sorry, everybody. Of the two, what's your preference?
What?
What is your preference of the two? Which would you most certainly go back to revisit the earliest?
Oh, I mean, Dazed and Confused, I'd watch a lot more. I mean, there's still a lot of issues with, bullying and all that stuff, but overall, I think I found the real balance of it to be a little too offensive for my...
This is your first time watch, right?
No, I've seen it before.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not for a really, 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 really long time.
Yeah, I had seen it a few years ago, and I was like, this is pretty good. I was kind of surprised because it didn't seem like it would be in my wheelhouse, and then realized it absolutely is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So that is it, everybody. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, on social media, whatevers, as Hit Rewind and podcast host. Share, like, comment, and suggest any movies that we haven't already covered. And that is it. Have a good night.